What they gonna say now? We're gonna find the answer to if Jayson Tatum will ever win an MVP and if that even matters for them to compete for another title run. Okay, past 4 years MVP rankings. Jayson Tatum, 2021, wasn't there. 2022, 6th. 2023, 4th. 2024, 6th. So he's never really been in contention for the MVP. He's been cool, had a really good team, but he's never been like, wow, it's between these two guys, and Jayson Tatum is one of them. That's never really been the case. Now, to find this, we're going to be using one of my favorite tools, Darko Online, to kind of find out if Jayson Tatum can be an MVP. But to understand that, we got to use what Darko uses. They use the BPM metric, the box plus minus. And Basketball Reference gives a good kind of guide to see who can win MVP. A 10 BPM is all time, so peak Jordan or LeBron. 8 is a strong MVP season like peak Dirk or peak Shaq, which is pretty high standard. 6 is an all-NBA season. 4 is all-star. So you kind of get the point. You can see it right there. So we look right here. One of my favorite MVPs in my lifetime, James Harden. James Harden's been steadily at a 5, barely over. As you can see, Tatum right now is probably peak Harden in terms of box plus minus, okay? And you might say, okay, great, that's good enough for him to win MVP. Not really, because even though James Harden had a 5.0 MVP season, he also led the league in scoring that year by a wide margin and led the Rockets to 65 wins when the KD Warriors were still a thing. Tatum hasn't led the league in scoring, led them to 64 wins, which is really cool. Wasn't 65, and there's no real threat like the KD Warriors were to the Rockets back in the day. The East has been kind of easy for the Celtics, and they only got 64 games. And that's a lot. There's no smoke in the Celtics at all. Just you get the context. In terms of MVP, Jayson Tatum did a lot. He led the Celtics to 64 wins, just like we talked about, but it was not enough in an individual performance that stood out over guys like Embiid, Luka, Shea, and the eventual winner of this year, Nikola Jokic. He wasn't bad at all. He averaged 27 points on the way to the chip. Obviously didn't win a Finals MVP, and I think that kind of speaks volumes for what we're talking about right here. He only averaged, 21, 22 points in the Finals? Jaylen Brown went and averaged more, and he played better. Tatum was there. He was very, very good, don't get me wrong. But Finals MVP goes to a guy who's definitively the best guy on the team, unless you're Andre Iguodala. Very, very few cases. I don't think Jaylen Brown was one of those cases. I think Jaylen Brown was the best player on that team throughout the playoffs. I mean, he got 2 awards because of it. Finals MVP, Eastern Conference MVP, which is a more recent thing. But he got 2 of those. That's kind of a 2-0 over Brown being over Tatum for the best player on the team. Personally, I don't think that Jayson Tatum can have that individual performance needed to kind of shoot himself into the stratosphere with the rest of these MVP candidates. And I think it's because the Celtics are too good, and he can't really do that. A lot of people are in another situation like his. Shea is on a team that is projected to make it out of the really packed West this year. And Luka, last year, his team went to the finals. So why can't Tatum just step up above and be that really hard number 1 guy? I don't know. We kind of just have to figure it out. So we talked about Jayson Tatum in the MVP conversation. Now we've got to talk about if winning the MVP matters at all for the Celtics to make a deep run again like they did this last year. And to do that, we got to talk about the rest of the players. And this might get hard to see in a second, but you can see basically all the main Celtics players are trending upwards except for Jaylen Brown, which is very, very interesting to look at. But Kristaps Porzingis in the blue had a very good season, shot up. Derek White in the yellow, shot up a ton. Al Horford in the red had a little bit of a dip down past couple years, but he's on the way up. I don't know what's wrong with Drew Holiday. He says he's on the way down, and Jaylen Brown is on the way down. But being that this is a contenders versus pretenders series, I got to give them a ranking on what they are. 100% contenders. Do not get it twisted. I think Giannis is scary. I think Embiid and the Sixers, maybe, who knows? The Knicks are still there. So maybe something funky happens with injuries, who knows? But they are contending again. I don't think they'll be able to do what they did with their record, winning 64 games. I think that was a little too high for them. Maybe around 60 wins, maybe 59. Nothing crazy, but just like I talked about with James Harden winning MVP, he got his team to 65 wins. And I believe the Warriors that year with KD were like 58 wins. And they went on a win. So it's you kind of see it's not that big of a difference. Their division just got more loaded, like I talked about with the Knicks, the Sixers, the Raptors still kind of suck, the Nets are kind of bad. Adding 2 wing players right in their division in Mikal Bridges and Paul George is That's a thing. That could be a problem. Even though I beef with Paul George because I'm a Clippers fan and I didn't like how the whole situation went down, but it's fine. It's whatever. We're chilling. Anyways, my verdict is this Boston Celtics are contenders 100% this year. They're good. I think they can repeat. It's not going to be 100% that they repeat, but I think they've got the good system. They kept all their guys. I don't know where this money's coming from that they just re-signed like everybody on their contract. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, like 2 of the largest contracts in NBA history. Don't know how that happened, but this team is still super dangerous. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to win, but there are some threats. They're still contending. There are some threats. Don't give healthy Giannis a chance. If Embiid wants one season of his career to go ballistic, he can do that. I mean, for crying out loud, Jimmy Butler, who, no knock on Jimmy, but Jimmy Butler beat him out in 23 to go to the finals. All it took was one stupid, crazy run, and then went from the play-in to the NBA Finals. So they've got to lock in. You cannot let that happen again for the Boston Celtics. Jimmy Butler did it. So what happens if, once again, like if Embiid or like Giannis or someone from the Knicks goes crazy? Who knows? The Pacers are still good. There's a lot more problems now in the East than there was when LeBron was running it, I think. East is very, very deep right now. So Celtics just got to stay put, keep their head down, don't focus on winning too many games regular season, keep your guys healthy, postseason, run through it, and you might be able to repeat. That's all I got for today. Celtics contenders 2025, we out.